Hello, everyone. It is January the 26th of 2018, and it is time for Weekly Manga Recap. Chris!
Hello, Nick.
How are you doing?
I have ascended to a new form of masculine voice, apparently.
Apparently.
Apparently, you can't hear it, but to the rest of the world, I've taken on a deep new voice that is signaled, I believe, my evolution to a higher power. That's what deep voices are like, right?
I
Nick,
guess.
I've now joined the echelon of you, Barry White, Dr. Claw, and the honest trailer guy, I guess. I guess those are the four. Like on the Mount Rushmores of low baritone voices, you guys are on there. You get to chisel at a fifth head for old me.
Dr. Claw?
Well, I guess he won't be on the Mount Rushmore.
That's not a naturally deep voice, Chris. He just talks like this all the time.
He'll just have, because he's on the Mount Rushmore, it won't be a face, it'll just be a hand. It'll just be the Dr. Claw hand on the chair arm. I don't know. I think it works. Hey, Nick, I got something that's something amusing in my mind that I don't know if you want to hear about. Also, you've disappeared from the world.
Yeah.
You're back now. All right, cool. So I started up a job recently at the local movie cinemaplex, you could say. And
all right.
in the process of that, you had to do your orientation, everything like that. So they are playing essentially what is the guide of everything going on, and it's a movie theater. So they use a lot of movie terminology that immediately comes off as the most condescending and fucking obnoxious shit in the world. So it's like, welcome to this cinema. This may be your opening role, but keep at it and you can have a big carpet appearance. Learn your notes. You may have to understudy for a bit, but you'll give an Academy Award winning performance. It's nothing but shitty movie puns to the notion of I'm slinging fucking M&Ms for minimum wage right now. God damn it, stop treating me like this.
I really, really hate overly enthusiastic orientation videos like that. It's just I know why I'm here. Stop.
It's not even overly enthusiastic. He carries it all with the cadence of someone who doesn't give a fuck, but was given a script with a bunch of shitty movie puns in it.
Gotcha.
It's not like, welcome to show business. It's like, you're in show business now. You have to make sure when the director says cut that you're in your places.
You think that everyone up along the chain has the same attitude that you do, having to listen to it? Like the person who's been handed the script, I can't believe I have to fucking recite this bullshit. The person who's writing is like, I can't believe I have to write this bullshit. The editor, the supervisor of the script is like, I can't believe that they made us do this.
No,
everyone up to the middle management guy who's like, we need to make it more fun for them.
See, having worked when I was with the state, I worked in training. So part of what I did was helping people assemble these shitty, awful presentations. So one time, my sole goal was just there was a bunch of random one-liners that were supposed to be at the top of it. I don't know what to do and all that. And he's like, you and me, just go and do your voice. Just do voices for it. And everyone I made cartoonish. So there's just one that opens with me well, I don't know what my manager is now. Don't you know? They were just all goofy, and everyone was like, that was the best part. And I was like, why don't we have comedians doing our fucking training videos?
Just put some amateur comedian in there as opposed to I really just needed a voice acting role, and they told me to say it the most deadpan but enthusiastic way possible.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's insane. Training is not awful, but the job's fun. There's good managers there. You get to put your favorite movie on your name tag, and when the manager asked for mine, I jokingly said Dungeon checks in. Will that fit? And he started putting it on. I was like, no, please, for the love of God, Hot Fuzz.
And he's like, I've learned not to judge.
See what some.
Do you know how many people we had come in to see the Emoji Movie? Well, not a lot, actually.
Not a stunning amount, but enough.
More than 10, though. Oh, gosh. All right. Well, Chris, we have an unusual manga to talk about this week.
Is it unusual?
I would say that it's a refreshing take on an old concept.
Okay.
I think we'll call it that.
Okay.
Our series is called Helck, Helck, which basically the premise is that it starts off in the Demon Kingdom. And there's chaos in the Demon Kingdom because a Demon King has been killed by the humans, by a human hero. And so they need to quickly promote someone to be the new Demon King and continue to, hold dominion over that realm of the Demon Kingdom. So this contest gets held, and one of the other Demon Kings, Vimirio, who is this small elf-looking girl, comes in and to start to oversee the proceedings, and she learns that someone who is quickly making a name for himself is a human hero named Helck, who is basically a very cartoonish-looking Conan the Barbarian. That's the easiest way I can describe him. He looks very unusual, even in this series, which has a lot of different character designs because he's just got the squarest jaw that you have ever seen. And so Vimirio is, of course, immediately suspicious because there's a human hero trying to become the Demon King. So she comes up with all these theories about why he is actually in this contest. Maybe he's trying to kill the people who could potentially be good Demon Kings. Maybe he is trying to strike at them from within after ascending to the position. She doesn't really know. But every single time that she comes up with an idea for what he's trying to do, he keeps on being friendly with everyone. And no matter what she does to try and sabotage the contest, he manages to find some absurd way to get through it. They resort to not having contests of strength and do things like a card house building contest, which he wins. Just because. And eventually you come to learn what Helck's motivation is, why he wants to become the Demon King and kill the rest of humanity. And it's about that and about the developing, I don't want to say relationship because that has romantic connotations, but the way that the relationship between Vimirio and Helck changes over the course of the series is a really big part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, the series is one thing for about 7 or 8 or 9 chapters or so. It's distinctly all about this tournament, and it's essentially the easiest way to describe it. It's a Looney Tunes series. It's, a Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote situation as they try to do everything they can to set up this guy to fail, and no matter what, he does it. And I don't say that in a derogatory way because I absolutely love Looney Tunes cartoons. They're fantastic.
It's essentially like one of those. If we're gonna do a Looney Tunes one, I would compare it to like the guy who's trying to trick Bugs Bunny, and no matter what he does to try and trick or cheat Bugs Bunny always gets one up on him in a ridiculous way.
I'm trying to think. I feel like there's like one that's perfectly like this. I can't think of it.
There's one where a guy rips off Bugs and steals all of his money, because Bugs comes across a giant gold nugget, the guy steals it, and then months later Bugs finds him, and the guy has set up a casino, and the guy tries to rig all the casino games, and Bugs somehow still wins everyone.
Oh. Yeah, it's in a similar mindset of that, and it has its amusing moments to it to a certain extent, but the problem is that once you've seen it, it's extremely obvious where the jokes are or where they're going to be going. So, like, the first big situation they throw over there is like, oh, when our contestants can't beat this guy by force, we have to make sure he loses. So that's where they like the card competition, as you said. And in that, Helck just is completely at a loss until he's just like, I concentrate more. And he puts the card tower together while simultaneously causing such a storm with his arm that he blows away basically everyone else's. And that's when they realize, like, oh, wait, we should just be fighting each other. And, he's the innocent, naive fool in all of this who just believes, like, this is such a worthy competition. They give us such proud competition and such skilled obstacles to overcome and everything like that. And, it's amusing to a certain extent, but eventually the jokes are very obvious to the point where there's, like, one where they have to do a horse race. And his horse isn't fast. You're like, he's going to pick up the horse and just run with it. Because that's what this guy is. He's a super muscle-bound god, essentially. He can't lose. And that's eventually what happens. He also encourages the horse to run, but by the end, they're like, the horse still can't actually carry you, so he just picks up the horse or like runs basically over top of it. It's amusing to a certain extent, but the jokes become very obvious at that point. Until, as I said, about 10 or so chapters in, when the series changes, and it's kind of tough to describe what it becomes after that for me. Because this was initially very much a gag manga. You know, it didn't have a ton of story to it. It was all just like, here's a new joke to like make something about how Helck is incredibly accomplished. Like, we're gonna put him in a cooking competition. Oh, Helck's an amazing cook too. Or, you know, here's Helck in a fucking, I don't know, like a sewing competition. I don't have one of those, but that's sort of the gag. Later on, though, they actually start delving into the idea of like, well, there's the human world and politics that they go along with that. The new world of monsters up above us that are attacking, and there's like politics and conspiracies and, you know, like legions and like army of human angels that are constantly suiciding into the demons to get resurrected stronger and stronger. And you're just like, I don't know what this is anymore, because it's not serious enough to be like just a dramatic battle series, but the jokes are like not frequent enough to really settle where I'm at.
It's a very odd series because it transitions very frequently between like serious and jokey moments, but it also does it very seamlessly, I find. And when there does need to be a really serious stress without jokes, then it does that. There's a long flashback that Helck has that explains his backstory and how he came to be where he was at the beginning of the series. That's very serious, no humor, because some really bad, tragic stuff happens. But you know, there'll, for example, be a point where, because a big chunk of the series is after they try and retake the Demon Fortress where the king got killed. Helck and Vimirio get sucked into a portal, and they land on an island that's thousands of miles away. And so they start to make their way back. They sail across the ocean. They get attacked by this like giant squid, while there's also this whirlpool that's sucking the ship in. And Helck leaps off of the ship in order to go and fight the sea monster. And so they're Vimirio and their weird little bird companion that they picked up on the island, they are forced to abandon him and sail away. And Vimirio lands on the mainland, and she lands on her hands and knees. And it looks like Helck is dead. And then she's like, Helck, why? Why are you already here? And it pans up. He's just standing there. Hi!
It's a sign. It's a goal.
So, you know, it goes through this entire chapter where he has this dramatic self-sacrifice battle, and then it's for a punchline. It's really weird in that regard.
It's understandable to a certain extent, because I mean that is the basis of a lot of comedy, is sort of like to just take the piss out of something, to use a euphemism there, but just to set up and then punchline. Set up, oh, it looks like Helck's dead. We're gonna have a dramatic chapter about his heroic sacrifice. Punchline. Actually, the he was there all along, and that's why she's like, why? But it's somewhat interesting because there's something that I found very easy to kind of compare this series to, just in terms of manga. I already mentioned it's about like a Looney Tunes cartoon, but the initial kind of framework of this series falls along a similar line to One Punch Man, in that it's a world with a protagonist who is unbeatable. Like, that's part of the character, where that's sort of the basis of the joke, and they're the odd one out artistically as well from the rest of the universe. Whereas One Punch Man takes that framework and kind of expands around it, I found that Helck kind of just had that as a go-to for a couple gags until it went totally serious. It's tough because the joke is always still there, even though when it starts being played for dramatic purposes. Like when he starts fighting against people who are supposed to be incredibly strong, he still beats them. And they'll end a chapter when it's like, oh no, Helck! As he gets like cut across the chest, but the next chapter starts, he's fine. And it's sort of weird because you're reading what seems like it's trying to be a more serious series at that point, with the protagonist who just can't lose because he's, joke Superman essentially.
A lot of the point of the series, I think, is that the fact that Helck has all this strength, but he did still fail in order to land up where he is. Despite all of his physical strength and battle prowess, he completely and utterly failed to save any of his friends that are now. I guess we might as well dive into what the actual issue with the humans is and why Helck wants to kill them. So this is pretty major spoilers. Basically, the humans have discovered this technique that allows them to awaken and become heroes. And when you awaken into a hero, you get this tremendous boost of power. So Helck is a hero, and that's one of the reasons why he's so incredibly powerful.
I awakened, actually. That's why I sound so
That's
much
why you have
deeper
deep voice
today.
now, yes. And one of the issues with being a hero is that if you're a hero, then there is also someone who has awakened in the human kingdom who can resurrect you, no matter how many times you die. So basically, it's like they're in a video game, and every one of the humans is now the protagonist of the story. You die, and you come back to your last save, and then you can just keep on getting stronger. So it takes an interesting twist on that premise of like, oh, yes, well, there's a hero who's going to defeat the demon kingdom. And then it's like, well, what if all of the humans could just become infinitely powerful and could basically destroy everyone, the stronger and stronger that they became. So it becomes this race against time to defeat the corrupted with power humans before they just become too powerful to ever be stopped. So this happened when, Helck was part of the human kingdom, and every one of his friends either was killed or was turned into a power-hungry monster because they were awakened as heroes, and a lot of them didn't retain their sanity when they did. Even those that did have been corrupted by it and are now evil, basically. So that's why he wants to stop them, because he knows that his friends are gone, and they're better off dead than what they are currently, and if they don't kill them, then not just humanity, but all the world is going to be destroyed. So it's an interesting take on that idea that you have in a lot of fantasy setups. Like, oh, here's the chosen hero. They are awakened as a hero. They're going to eventually become powerful enough that they can defeat everyone with their ultimate techniques and stuff. Oh, what if there are a trillion of those and they're the bad guys?
Sounds like a pretty sweet RPG.
It does, kind of, doesn't it? A reversal of the typical structure of the game. I did really like this series. I think that the art, for one thing, is really good, and there's a lot of different character designs for a lot of the different, because there's demons, and there are a lot of different appearances for the individual demons. Helck is really weird looking, but he gets drawn in a lot of different ways depending on the demands of the current tone of the story. And then there are some weird-looking monsters over on the island that Vimirio and Helck land on, including this weird rotund bird named Pewee that I want to throw into the sun. I know, another animal sidekick that Nick hates.
It's weird. I need to find, there's got to be like some sort of like event horizon that you cross over when you go from something like I love Hawk and I love Parrot to I want to throw that bird into the sun. I don't know what like settles something on mine.
It's like the uncanny. It's like the uncanny valley. Like there's just this sun ditch this chasm that you fall into, and then it comes back up. It's like, oh, it's amazing.
I want to like put a chart together one time, like a radial chart to figure out where creatures that are in series land on Nick's hate scale. Frosh is obviously at the top, and then like
Frosh is the worst. It's far worse than Pewee. Pewee is a lot easier to ignore, honestly.
It's like the Frosh to Hawk chart essentially, and we just have to find where other creatures land in that median.
Where does the comic relief animal sidekick land on the Nick scale?
Yeah. Where does Chopper land?
Chopper's not an animal sidekick. He's a main character.
Is a Hawk a main character, Nick?
Exactly. He's great. He's the eighth sin, Chris.
Fuck, isn't there actually supposed to be like an eighth
Lord
sin?
Hawk?
I can see why people dig this series. Personally, I just could not get into it. It was really slow. The humor felt telegraphed too much. And there's a lot of Vimirio, and she's not a particularly interesting character. Her turnabout to finding like a reason to like Helck is just so basic and simple that I couldn't really invest into it narratively or dramatically. And it's not funny enough either to like fulfill either function the series is trying to work with. So I just wasn't able to get into it for that extent. And it spends so much time following those two from like when they get sucked away and go to that island that like I just kind of lost patience with the series. It's not something I think is bad. I think it's just something that just didn't hit my particular sort of interests very much. I think this series that would work better in my mind if it just pushed itself in one direction or the other right from the start. Like if it wanted to be like a comedy series to keep up with the gags and keep going, 'cause there's a ton of material and room for it, or just to not make that the constant thing of it, where we're getting 5 or 6 characters every couple chapters who are just there for like their one joke, like the pig man who's just there to be an utter incompetence to the point where you're like, why does anyone put this, like, assign this guy with a task? It's like, oh hey, I've got an important message from you. To get there.
But like, I fell asleep before I could give it to you, and I slept for about 8 hours, and then I gave it to you.
What kind of worthless fuck just falls asleep and misses a very big appointment what they're supposed to do? And why wouldn't anyone just...
Yeah.
I know, exactly, right?
Who would ever put up with that, Chris?
No, I don't know who would do that. It sounds unbelievable. I can't believe that person still is associated with.
Maybe if you put on a Giants cap, he would get people to forgive him.
Exactly. Go Giants. If it helps, this upcoming 2 weeks is my living hell, so...
I do agree with you on that one character's life. I was just like, this guy's not funny. He's just annoying. Everyone on this island isn't funny. Oh, thank God they're gone from it now.
So I think I could recommend this to people in the extent that if you are somebody in that same line who enjoys like a One Punch Man and like the comedy goofy aspect to it with a little bit of drama, you might dig Helck. I just know personally, this is one I wasn't a big fan of, and I can almost guarantee that when we do our like year-end recap, this is going to be one of those series. I'm like, what the fuck was Helck? What are you talking about? Oh right, okay, never mind. I remember now.
I quite enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I found it very easy to read. And even though a lot of the jokes weren't like having me crack up or anything, I thought that it moved really well. It had a really nice flow to it. The one joke that I think that stands out to me is there's a point in the flashback where Helck has joined a group of mercenaries, and they have to. It's just a montage of them rushing off the battle and then coming back, and Helck is basically talking about how he loved spending time with them. It was the best times of his life, and he's reflecting on all the easygoing times that they had. But then they had to be pulled away to rush off to battle. And there's one moment when they do it, when they're running off to the side of the battle, and Helck's got a baguette in his mouth. Like an anime girl who's late for school, Chris.
That old classic. I'm confused now. Someone made a joke about we should put a new milestone on the Patreon to hire Hippie to follow Chris and play a poke flute. I think they're calling me a Snorlax, which I'm not cool with. I know, I don't... To anyone who's listening now, very confused.
The Poke Flute works on every sleeping Pokemon, Chris.
That is true. But for anyone who's confused listening to this, I'm not putting on a voice modulator or anything. For some reason, OBS is just doing this to my voice today. I don't know why. It would not be WMR without some technical issue in the way. So yes. I just want to explain that away in case people think like, oh, what, he's trying a shitty Batman modulator to make himself sound cooler.
You're like, what, Chris? No, that guy's lame. No, he falls asleep. He's supposed to be doing the podcast. No,
I'm new, Chris.
I'm Batman.
I'm new, Chris. In my defense, is this new pills I was taking. It was to put me to sleep.
It's cool, man. I know. All right. So I would recommend this series, though. I think that if you read the first couple of chapters and you enjoy it and you find it funny, then you're probably definitely going to join the ride. The artwork, I think, really does help to carry it through. It makes the jokes funnier and it makes the dramatic moments better. Yeah, I think it was interesting. I would definitely say give it a try if you're into, especially if you're into fantasy RPG stuff and you like kind of subversions on stuff in that. Great.
Damn straight.
So, that said, we've got a lot of manga to talk about this week.
Do we?
Because we've got Jump Starts and we've got Boruto. We don't have One Piece, but we've got more than usual on our plates. So I think that we're just gonna get into it and do the recap portion of Weekly Manga Recap, starting off with My Hero Academia, number 167, number one heroes starting line. So last time, Bakugo and the rest managed to win the hearts of the kindergartners, or whatever the hell grade they're supposed to be in. And we pick up at the end of that with kind of the aftermath of their playtime together, so to speak. Bakugo is tasked with cleaning up all the ice sculptures that they made that the kids were sliding down, and apparently he really, really, really likes doing it. Because he's like, yeah, boom!
It makes sense, 'cause I think we were wondering, or like, did Bakugo help with it? Because it made sense, like, Todoroki made the ice, Wind Dude managed to, like, blow the ice to help it actually sculpt something, and it seemed like Kami used her powers to make kind of that Aurora Borealis in the sky. I was like, did Bakugo do anything? It's like, no, his role was to blow it all up afterwards.
Chris. He was the coach. So everyone's cleaning up. There is a little bit of a discussion that happens between Gang Orca and the teacher, where he says some rather subdued wise words like, "Oh, their behavior forces us adults to look in the mirror. Unleashing their quirks on people without hesitation is an educational concern. We may be heroes, but we don't always be around to keep an eye on them. Teaching them about quirks is up to you." Then at the end of everything, he gives some congratulations to the 4 students. So he's like, yes, cooperate to open up the kids' hearts. It was a ridiculous assignment, but you did well. I'm glad he acknowledges that. It was kind of weird that we asked you to do this, but good job.
It really just kind of, it was Monday morning, realized we didn't have an assignment for you guys. I panicked, really scrambled. Hey, you did a good job, though.
He apparently just can't stand giving too many compliments though, because eventually he's like, oh, yeah, good job. I see. Yeah, there's a lot of potential in you turds. I'm not sure if he's like Sun or if he's just eccentric.
Obviously, he's Sun Nick. That's why he was Sun Dairy Shark last week.
Turds. Baka turds. Stupid shit. So the 4 of them are actually relatively friendly with each other as they are walking out of the testing facility, except for Bakugo, because he's Bakugo, And they spot Shishikura talking with President Mike and Toshinori and Endeavor. And Kami says something that kind of pisses him off because she says, Shishikura's chatting with the symbol himself all night. Crazy. What you talking about? Life and stuff? It's like the most broad thing you could just guess at. What are you talking about? Stuff?
What are you talking about? Things?
Topics?
Words? Are you discussing words and ideas?
Subjects? Concepts? And he gets pissed off. He's like, we're talking about you idiots. For reals?
Me? Like toast my goats. That's great.
Oh boy. They bring up that, we're kind of talking about why the League of Villains, kind of abducted you or tried to have someone be an imposter of you. And she's like, yikes. She doesn't seem very concerned about this at all.
I wonder if the joke is to just make her like a very dim-witted airhead, because that's what she definitely comes across as, like someone who doesn't grasp the concept of anything, where they're just like, you were kidnapped for a reason and impersonated. Are you worried about that? She's like, I was? That sounds bad.
Does kidnap mean? I'm not a kid. I'm 15.
Yeah, I'm an adult. They adult napped me. They're like, that's not the point.
I think we're going to go take an adult nap now. Oh no, I missed my appointments for 3 days.
Hey, it was only 2.
But what comes from this is that Shishikura brings up, yeah, it looks like cooperation between our schools is going to happen now, and joint practical training is on the table. Endeavor, in the meantime, approaches Todoroki, and very awkwardly, he's like, it's been a while, Shoto. You've changed a lot. He's like, goes to like pat him on the head, it looks like. I think that that's what he's going to do, like a congratulatory pat. Which is weird to do to anyone, but to your 15-year-old son who has a deep-rooted hatred of you is especially weird. And of course, Todoroki.
Look, Nick, it makes sense. He can't hug him because he's made of fire in his chest. And he would burn him. So he's doing the next best thing, which is the head.
I would hug you, but I'm kind of made of burning.
I don't want to incinerate you.
That's Endeavor's real problem. He's like, he flashes back to when he was a kid, hugged his like Build-A-Bear. I just want to be loved.
I can't touch anyone. Oh, they're like, you can touch plenty of things. Just don't push it against your chest or turn it off. He's like, no.
It's even worse than the Midas touch, because everyone screams when I kill them.
He's looking at like an X-Men magazine. He's like, oh, Rogue, I know how you feel all too well.
Comic book on fire. No, Rogue!
Rogue! Oh, why do I burn everything I love?
Oh, my face, my burning face.
That's what I get for trying to make out with pictures of my favorite heroine. My flaming mustache incinerated her.
Weird, perverted, unloved Endeavor. So, Endeavor endeavors to reach out to his son in this moment. He says, Shoto, I'm proud of you, son. And Inasa is watching him as he does this and observing a apparent change in him. To drive this home, we get like shots that aren't side by side, but are, you know, of Endeavor's eyes from the moment that Inasa saw him way back at his flashback to where he's seeing him now, and his eyes look completely different. But as Inasa is watching this, Endeavor says, I'm hoping to become a hero you can be proud of. As your father and the number one hero, I want to be deserving of those titles. And Todoroki's just like, yeah, good luck with that. Clearly it doesn't work. But he doesn't really have a lot that he can say to him in that instance. Because he can't really be negative to him. But if he's going to be hard on him in this scenario, he will be hard on him in every scenario, I think. Now, I know that Endeavor is like the worst dad, like in this series. That said, a lot of this manga is about people who are fuck-ups who try and make themselves better. That's, I think, one of the reasons why, for example, a lot of people don't like Bakugo because of the crimes he's done in the past, but he's trying to be better now. And that makes him more interesting than if he just stayed a piece of shit all the way through. The fact that characters can change is one of the things that makes them so interesting. And the fact that it never realizes the position he's in, not just as the number one hero, but also as a dad. And maybe you should do a better job at that. That's pretty cool.
I completely understand anybody who feels like Endeavor should be someone who should get redeemed. Because he did do some pretty awful things. You know, in context of the series, he did abuse children. He has been consecutively, essentially genetically breeding the ultimate hero. And it sounds like more or less abandoned any child that didn't meet that goal. So I can understand why people wouldn't like him. But I agree with you. There's definitely a large theme in the series about power and how that power can then make you a good hero. Endeavor has been one of the strongest heroes, but he's not been one of the best heroes, you know? And I do like this idea of seeing him get sort of a redemption to him. I understand why some people don't like it, and that's perfectly fine. It's sometimes tough to overlook the fact that he did these awful things, especially when you consider real life. There's a lot of times where, you know, you have abusive family members, and that's something not a lot of people are willing to forgive. You know, just speaking from my own personal experience, though, I had a very rough relationship with my dad growing up, and eventually kind of opened up. It took time, but now we have a great relationship. That's not going to be the Catholic truth for everybody. It's not going to be universal, but you know, I'm. That's why I think for myself personally, I'm a little bit more open-minded to this and a bit more willing to be like, yeah, let's get a cool character redemption arc for Endeavor. And I'm really excited about it. But you know, I want to stress that I totally understand anybody out there who's like, no, this guy doesn't deserve one.
And I think that if it's going to be some sort of like redemption thing that it never goes through, it's not going to be just like repairing his relationship with his son, but with his entire goddamn family.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a number of kids and also a wife who have been through a lot of shit because of him.
Yeah. So, I mean, as long as they take time with this, it should be fine. It'd be really annoying if, like, next week, if people start getting angry at, like, Todoroki for not forgiving him, then it'd be like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah, seriously. Then we get back to Inasa, and he punches himself in the face and then runs up to Endeavor.
I love Kami's expression during this, because she watches it punch him in the face, and then she says this look like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? What's up? What'd you just do that for? Like, she and the rest of the audience are just like, I don't know why you just punched yourself.
I don't know if he's driving himself into action or if he's doing it because he wrote off Endeavor or what. But regardless, he punches himself, then rushes up to Endeavor, and he's like, I'm rooting for you. And Endeavor is clearly caught off guard by this, and he's like, yeah, thanks. You're bleeding like crazy. He didn't just like, you know, slap himself in the face. He fucking clocked himself, gave himself a bruised cheek and a busted nose, and bit his tongue.
Like, I love that, like, thanks. You're bleeding like crazy, though, bro.
One of the things I like about this is because it actually kind of shows a similarity between Endeavor and Todoroki, because that's a Todoroki line there too. It's just, it's, you know, says something and he's like, just makes a dry observation about it. And so we get a bit of a montage of everyone, you know, parting ways. And then we get to a few days later, we're catching up with Midoriya, and he narrates a lot of the stuff that's been going on recently while we were off following Bakugo and company. And so they attended Night Eye's funeral. By the way, Fat Gum in funeral garb. Oh, makes me so sad. Just this big, black-suited, sad man.
This round person. I think it's because he looks like if the Grimace was attending a funeral right now. You're just like, you're not human. Like, you're close enough humanoid shape, but you're clearly not human. And putting you in a tuxedo at a funeral it like feels like a cartoon character, like saying around like, "Oh, Barney, we're gonna miss him."
Oh boy. And then he establishes some stuff that gone on. For example, work studies have been put on hold for a while, which makes sense because, wow, you guys went through a lot. Let's put you on pause for a little while. Established that Centipeter has taken over Night Eye's agency for the time being. They're waiting for, you know, Miria to get back with them. Eri regained consciousness, and apparently they have discovered that her horn was linked to the power of her quirk. And now that she is more docile, it is shrunk to a small bump, basically. Then we cut to the present, essentially. Class in session being taught by Ectoplasm. Math class, Chris.
Yes.
So let's talk about the way that this sequence plays out, and then I want to talk about a detail that I seized upon.
Okay.
So the joke of it is that Ectoplasm puts up this really complicated math formula on the board, and everyone is like blown away by it. You know, Jiro's like, well, good grief. Freaking Kaminari has his like, I use my quirk too much reaction to trying to solve this problem, which is pretty great. Even Yaoyorozu is struggling a little bit with it, which causes Tokoyami to say it's even stumping Yaoyorozu, our A student. It's truly it's truly an integral of darkness, which is hilarious. This fucking geek. So Deku goes into overdrive and raises his hand to answer the question, and he's wrong. And then Yaoyorozu raises her hand to answer the question, and she gets it right. So the joke, of course, is it's an insanely difficult problem. Deku almost gets it. Yaoyorozu does get it. And there's a bunch of different little jokes here and there that I really like. Like Bakugo, like when he hears that Midoriya answered the question wrong, he's like, yeah, fucker.
He's like, fuck that guy.
I actually saw some people commenting, I think on Twitter, actually, pointing out, it's like, hey, you know, back in like chapter 1, Deku was too nervous to like answer questions in class like this. And now he's like, argh! So, hey, character development over the course of years. Good stuff. Now, that's the joke. That's the sequence that plays out here. Deku was close, but he was wrong, and he's been trying extra hard in his lessons and everything else to try and improve himself. Now, the integral that they have to solve. I was curious about it, so I took a close look at it in the Viz Reader. And I thought, it's like, okay, well, this is a ridiculously not a really ridiculously complicated one, but it's a hard one. It's a hard one. I could not solve it. And I thought, maybe I'll try and solve it, and we'll see how far Nick gets, and everyone can laugh about how he's forgotten everything that he learned in high school. But then I looked closely, and I was like, this actually isn't a complicated integral at all. Because if you look at the Viz version of it, it zeroes itself out. Because it's inside of the sets of parentheses that it says there, it's e to the x minus e to the x in the numerator rather, of both of the sets of parentheses. So you're trying to find the integral of a function that is 0 constantly. And I was like, why the fuck are they struggling with this? Why are they come up with something like 117 over 28 or 107 over 28 is the answer? Like, that's not right at all. What the fuck? And I was like, I'm curious about something. So I went and hunted down a scanlation of this chapter, and I saw that the formula is different. So So for some reason, the Viz version edited this formula that Ectoplasm puts up on the board for them to solve. And when they did that, they put it in wrong. And you can see a bunch of the differences between them. For example, there's no lines to indicate that there are fractions. There's a plus sign instead of a minus sign. There are negative signs that are missed. I think that the only reason that it happened is because it's bigger in the Viz version and it looks clearer. But I don't know why you would bother to do that, because one, it's not a necessary component of the joke, and two, it's not covered up by anything. It's not interfering with any of the speech bubblers or sound effects or anything like that. So I looked at that and I was like, why did they do that?
I'm trying to even comprehend any part of this math problem, and it's all beyond me. What the fuck does log mean?
Log is basically the inverse of an exponent. So, like, you know, if you cube something, then a logarithm will basically be the inversion of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could give me 1,000 years to answer this, and I would just be like, I don't, just kill me.
I literally when I was looking into this, I literally looked up a definite integral calculator. And I punched in the Viz version, and it was like, just to make sure, I was like, no, that comes out to 0, all right. And then I tried to punch in the original version, and I broke it. So it's a really difficult problem.
If nothing else, this conversation has enlightened to me that I am definitely not the nerd of this podcast.
I took higher level math in high school. I'm sorry.
No, I'm impressed by it. It's helped me that I'm like, I guess I'm the cool one in Weekly Manga Recap.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, So Uraraka and Ida come over, and they're like, "Oh, you're putting a lot of effort into your studies lately. That's cool. Hey, you want to, get some lunch?" And Deku starts to get up with them. He's like, "Yeah, I'm really hungry." All of a sudden, Aoyama comes over and shoves some cheese in his mouth, and Deku's like, "Wah!" And Aoyama says, like, "Oh yeah, sit mild and easy on the palate. Yeah, you want some more?" Like shoving more cheese in Deku's mouth before he's even finished the bite that he's given him already. So everyone's freaked out a little bit by this, but he's just like, "Hey, Aoyama, you always eat by yourself. Why don't you come, eat with us?" And Aoyama's like, "No, no, no, no." Because does his whole typical "I am super fancy" thing. He like goes over to his desk and like lays out. Where was he keeping this? Like fine china, a wine glass. It just appears. That's his real quirk, like the manifestation of his fancy meal.
That would be great if that was his secondary quirk for some reason. Like he had a combination quirk. He's like, I could shoot lasers from my belly button, or I can make fancy dinnerware appear as I need it. Also, I think they allow me to drink wine, I guess, as a student. There are no concerns about that.
What is actually in his wine glass, do you think?
I mean, it could just be like a fancy fruit juice, but he's eating such like pompous and hoity-toity cheeses and food. I would not be shocked if he was just like unsophisticated enough to have wine. That would be a very teenage sort of thing to do, where they're just like, no, I'm more mature than my fellow compatriots. I definitely can have some wine. I'll handle it well. Just like Tokoyami is the epitome of the fucking like dark edgy kid. He's the I'm more advanced for my age kid.
Just a very different Shunibyo kind of thing.
Ooh, actually, someone just brought up a good thing. It's blood because it's toga. I don't know. They brought it up. It was interesting.
I don't know. Maybe that's related to how this chapter concludes, Chris. Let's find out. So narration and from Deku says, like, his actions made quite an impact, but still none of us had any idea what Aoyama was ever thinking. And then we cut to later in the night. Deku's going to sleep after studying. It was then that he started to reveal his true nature. And Aoyama is outside of Deku's window watching him sleep. Ooh.
Hot.
There's a very, very un-Aoyama expression on his face, too. Like, you never see him, like, kind of, like, grimace like that. So, should we throw out some theories as to what the hell this means? I'm going to say right away, I basically kind of gut reaction was like, he's not the imposter or anything like that. I was like, this isn't actually nefarious. Because come on, like, is something as obvious as like he was acting weird in class and then he was watching Deku sleep? Like, no. He's not doing anything villainous at the very least. He might be acting creepy like Aoyama do, but he's not just going to be like the traitor or Toga in disguise or something like that.
So what do you theorize? You're just saying he's a weird dude, that's it?
I think that there is something that Aoyama has, I don't know. I think that there is something that he wants from Deku.
Maybe
I'm not sure what it is.
Picked up on the idea that he has like an all-for-one ability. Like maybe he's made that connection. You keep getting stronger with a similar quirk to All Might after he gets weaker.
I did also actually check on Reddit, the My Hero Reddit, and people were throwing around theories and stuff. One of them was that maybe Aoyama is like Deku, and his naval laser beam doesn't focus his power, but actually produces it. Which I don't know about that. But and then there were some people who were like, "Oh, he's the imposter" or something like that, or he's the traitor of the group.
I would say if that's what it turned out to be, I think that would be an interesting twist in my mind, if only because Aoyama was such like a nothing character before this. He was a goofy, fun character, but like in the class of 1A, he was definitely on like the lower tiers of interest, and you can definitely take a character like that and turn them evil and have it be really effective because it gives them a new layer that they didn't have before. while you don't have to necessarily take away what made them like fun centric too. So I would be interested. I feel like
super posh villain Aoyama. He's like Papillon from Busarenkin.
There's a couple examples I want to give, but they'd be spoilers for the games they're from. But there are plenty of examples of very like not flirty, but like eccentric characters who turn out to be the villains in the series they're in, and it's like, oh, makes sense. I do think that's what's going to happen though, because the setup to this stinks heavily of the exact same setup they used to be like, and that was the last time I saw Ida when he was still a hero, or whatever that like setup was that made it sound like Ida was going to go full anti-hero or whatever. And that's obviously not where things go. It was very much like a misdirection, almost kind of like a cheating narrative from Horikoshi to be like set up for drama that really isn't true when you look back on it. It's that same like, predictive reading. Like, none of us had any idea what Ayama was thinking. It was then that he started to reveal his true nature. His true nature is to be like, I like watching people sleep. It's my kink. I'm sorry.
He's just like, the panel after this one is like Aoyama reaching into his pants. And we never saw Aoyama at the academy again.
Yeah, it was a weird yeah. But hey, I like this chapter. I think I like it more for the stuff with Endeavor more than anything else, but I think it still works.
Yeah, in a million years, I don't think that after last week we would have been like, oh yeah, next chapter's going to end with Aoyama creeping on Deku. Yeah. All right, let's do Food Wars next. Chapter 247, Ice Queen. So last time, Erina presented her souffle dorayaki hybrid thingy and offered it for Momo to taste. This chapter begins with Momo kind of being dismissive with it, saying that, yeah, it's pretty cute, sure, it's not half bad, but it's only a 95 out of 100 on the cuteness scale.
God damn it, Nick. God damn it. I thought Food Wars would be the one to go beyond it. But no. Once again, we have another manga with fucking power levels. Alright? It's only 95 out of 100 on the cuteness scale. So fucking she's gonna have to evolve and go beyond to get a 96 out of 100. And then they're gonna go beyond. It's gonna be 105 over 100 on the power fucking cuteness scale.
Momo's going to like put on a scouter for cuteness. Like the lens is like bedazzled.
Oh, it has like little bunny ears on top of it. So it's really obtrusive and annoying.
It's actually got like a V sign built into the scouter that holds the lens. Oh god. So yeah, Momo says that the cuteness of the dish has been ruined by sticking bean paste right in the middle, turning into a dorayaki. Having the bean paste in there messes up the area texture, blah 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 blah. You should have just left it out instead of putting it in there. Then your dish would have been perfect 100. So I don't need to even taste it to know that it gets docked points. But Erina challenges her and says, taste it and you'll see. So Momo does something actually that I find kind of odd, because she consults Butchie. She's like, what do you think? Should we do her a favor and taste it? Yeah, let's do it. It's like, okay, that part I get. But then as part of her continuing I abuse my stuffed animal thing goes on, she uses Butchie's head as like a booster for the plate. So it puts Butchie on her lap and then the plate on the lap. So she's eating on... That's a weird thing to do, okay? Also, that muzzle of that stuffed animal is never going to hold your plate steady. You're going to spill it immediately. Come on.
Hey, Nick, she only looks like she's 5, okay? She's an adult. She can certainly balance a plate.
So she tries a bite of it and has a heart eyes reaction. So everyone's like, oh my god! Momo-senpai is head over heels for someone else's dessert! And we get an explanation of what Erina did in order to prepare her dish, which was to use a secret ingredient, Greek yogurt.
I immediately had a problem with this because I eat Greek yogurt very frequently. It's very often my breakfast in the morning. And I'm going to tell you this. Greek yogurt is horrendous. It is awful. I do everything in my human power to make it as digestible as possible. And only then is it moderately possible. And this is like basically dumping in enough like chocolate flavored protein powder to essentially make it like Jell-O pudding. Even then, it's still something I have to force down. It's not good. Greek yogurt is disgusting.
Well, clearly, Chris, you need to put it through a coffee filter.
Apparently, that's the only way. That's the only way to make it better. To combine it with like my second least favorite food on the planet. The next step is to put some herring in it as well and get a trifecta. Now, don't get me wrong. The health benefits to Greek yogurt, phenomenal. The taste, I would never add it to anything for taste.
So basically, she filtered out the Greek yogurt using a coffee filter so that it wouldn't overpower the bean paste and everything that she was putting in. And so this all combines together to make the souffle taste super awesome and good. Arina explains that the answer I sought could only be found by going above and beyond what is commonly considered correct, and had I not seen Tadakoro's dorayaki dish, which boldly challenged its notions, it never would have occurred to me to make my souffle. And Alice explains to Megami that she named her dish Soufflé la guerre de grâce, or however the hell you pronounce that. I don't know French. And she says grâce is the French word for grace, but not necessarily in the elegant sense. It also means blessings, and the Japanese word for that is megumi. It's like, oh, that's a cool little detail, honestly. So Arina's whole thing is like, yeah, the reason why you were so thrown off in your contest with Megami is because she aimed for 120%, and abandoning the safety within the correct. And she had a fighting style you couldn't comprehend, which left you incensed. So this ties into Arina, because she thinks to herself, I know that feeling too, because I experienced it myself when in my castle, where my rule is absolute, on that day you appeared looking over at Soma. So, of course, this is more about Arina's development than anything else. Now, I know that some people are going to be upset with the fact that Megami seemingly got the shaft in order for Arina to look good. And I don't want to agree, but I kind of do. I think that in terms of showing how far Aaron has come, this is very good. I think that it works perfectly well. The parallels are there. And you see that it's not just her personality, but her cooking that has evolved from this. Although we didn't really get a lot of examples of her cooking before she went through this transformation. So, oh well. But trying to tie Megami into it, I know that you kind of had to do it because of the direct sequence of events from Megami getting defeated to Arina winning. But for one thing, it was really short, this whole matchup. And this theme also wasn't really built up too with Megami. Basically, if I were to say like, okay, your assignment class is to do this, this, and this, and include these themes and stuff, then you guys did the exact minimum. But I know that you're capable of more, so you guys get a C. You know, you followed the strict requirements of the assignment, but come on, you got to go above and beyond. You got to shoot for 120%. Come on, guys. So
I get why it's frustrating too, and I think again this probably all could have been very alleviated had there been some matchup for Megami to have that she just won in prior to losing to Momo. Just the fact that she really hasn't had like her own victory in quite a while is discouraging. I do really like what this does for Arina though, in terms of showing not only has she grown as a chef, but very much as a person. And the fact that she is, as they describe, you're the ice queen. You know, this moment that shows she was thinking for her classmates in this situation and using them as inspiration. I actually really do like the sentiment of that's what made Megami so terrifying there, was that she aimed for 120%. Because that absolutely is kind of the direct conflict that exists between Central and the Resistance, is this idea that cooking should be about trying different things. Momo's cooking very much does feel reminiscent of the idea what Central's all about, like the perfect dish replicated by everybody. Whereas, Momo's dish, or Megami's dish, and then subsequently Arina's, tried for something very avant-garde and crazy. And one time it didn't work, and that's fine. She's still a freshman student, essentially. She'll learn and get better. And Arina managed to make it work, which is a big, character growth moment for her. I like it. I think it works to a certain extent. It does fall into a thing. It's like, God, why couldn't we have given Megami a match before this to give her something basically.
Have her stomp Hat Guy or Hat Girl earlier.
Well, she was the fifth seat, Nick. She couldn't have possibly stood up to the new fifth seat on the council.
So Momo is forced to acknowledge that this dorayaki is too cute, making a heart symbol with her hands, while her clothes dissolve. Thanks for that. It's okay, guys. She only looks like she's 8, or however the hell, I don't know. So Arena is declared the winner, and she, kind of looks over her shoulder and says, "It was a pleasure to serve." Arena is declared the winner. And then someone goes up to her and is like, "Hey, you kind of, used my line there and just put your own spin on it."
I mean,
it's just kind of funny.
She stole Megami's dish. Why wouldn't she just steal Soma's line too? Then she starts speaking in an Italian accent too. She's like, what are you women talking about? I do everything original. This is original voice.
Just a little twist on it, like it's a Sicilian accent instead or something. Oh gosh. Megami is tearfully thankful to Erina, which also catches Erina off guard. And then everyone turns to look at the remaining matches, and we finally get the other matchups that we have been looking forward to having revealed. And it's basically what we expected, right? I think that we all agreed that it was going to be Ishiki versus Tsukasa and Takumi versus Rindo. So, so we're going to get Ishiki against Tsukasa next.
And I think we're both on the expectation that those are both going to be 2 losses then for the Resistance.
Yeah.
Do we still... Because I think I had the idea that we might get Soma against Takumi, and the Takumi wins. And eventually then Arina has to beat him.
Yeah.
Do you still think... Are you still holding on to it's going to be Arina against Rindo? And they'll both win?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. So yeah, we're not gonna find out the result of that for another 4 months or something. So. Okay, let's get into our extra series that we have to go through, because we've got 2 jump starts to talk about, and we've also got a Boruto chapter. So, we're gonna, I think, keep all 3 of these more to summaries, or at the very least the first 2. I think we should just kind of summarize as opposed to going all the way through them. I think that we'll begin with Act Age.
Okay.
Which basically is that the premise of it is that there is this teenage girl named what's her name?
That's not the most attractive name they could have had for their female lead character.
Kei.
Yanagi.
So Kei is auditioning for a role as an actress at tryouts, and it's the series is all about acting and method acting. She has this phenomenal ability to embody an emotion after she exposes herself to it a whole lot, particularly if she watches a bunch of movies that are all about that, and then she just kind of comes to quickly embody that. She has to look after her 2 younger siblings because their parents are gone. So there's a director for these tryouts that really likes what she can do, but the producer is like, no, that kind of acting is bad. It's going to lead her to destruction and it's dangerous. So we don't want to do that. The director pulls some strings and gets her a call back, however, to be in the final 4. They are given the prompt that there is this dangerous wolf in a forest that is going to attack you. The director gives some additional details, which allows Kei to embody that moment in her head. And instead of showing fear, she shows aggression and protectiveness because her siblings were brought to the tryouts, and so she moves to defend them and beats the wolf into submission, which is kind of awesome, actually. It's an imaginary wolf, but whatever. She doesn't get the part because the producer's like, no, I said no. But the director quits the project and decides to make his own movie and goes out to recruit her. And that's how the whole chapter plays out.
This series is so good. I'm ashamed. I'm almost upset it's in Jump. Not because I want to, like, I'm not trying to shit on the quality of Jump, but this is a series I feel like is not going to be appreciated for doing something as crazy as it is. Because it's not just an acting manga. It's a manga about method acting that continuously hammers home how fucking dangerous and psychotic it is as, like, a way of expression. Like, the whole worry that they have about this girl is that, like, she's going to lose herself. Like, that's what the director does keep hiring for. She's like, she's really good. This is an insane person, though. Like, we can't do this. Like, she's gonna get lost in this. And I just found that such an interesting direction to take on a series about acting. Because we I don't know if you've ever read too many acting manga before, but we did
Skip
read,
Beat.
well, that's what I'd say. We did read Skip Beat, which had, like, a subplot about acting. And there was method acting to a certain extent in that, but it was never to, like, the same degree of what we're getting here. I don't know why. I find something very interesting about this series. Maybe it's because she has a tendency that I have as well, where she can't smile naturally. It just comes off, like, terrifying. Like, she's in a tub with the younger siblings, and to, like, smile, and she's like, "Aw." And they're like, no, that's terrifying. Stop that. And I'm like, that's me. That's me. I know that feeling. I just find it very interesting. I know that this is something that's going to be very much like a matter of taste for people, and that's I think very not intentional, but that's going to be sort of part of the process. Like, the wolf scene's going to be weird to a lot of people. They're like, I don't get it. I've been around enough, like, weird eccentric actor types that I totally understand their mindset of, like, no, the wolf's in the room. You have to act for it. You got to do something innovative. You got to do something crazy. Like, I could see that scene playing out more or less, and I don't know, I just enjoy it. I think that there's a lot of well-written parts to it, but I'm fascinated at the idea of them taking on the idea of method acting and being like, this girl is fucking insane. Like, it's almost like a Black Swan or like a Whiplash in my mind, where I'm like, you have to almost take this to the nth degree to be like, this is dangerous. They probably won't. It's Jump. They'll probably make her the goddamn hero who solves everything. But, like, it's just an interesting idea to pursue in my mind.
I don't think it's going to work.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I do actually agree. I don't think it's the right magazine for this. I don't think that with the general structure of this demand of Jump series, I don't think that it's going to work out. Also, I don't really like Kay. I don't think that she's actually all that interesting. And the fact that we did read Skip Beat, which has a lot of similarities to this, I liked Kyoko way more in Skip Beat. And also, I thought that her method acting bits were way more intriguing, despite the fact that Kay has a lot more to work with because of the way that it's laid out. You know, just like, oh, you imagine this ridiculous action scene in your head. It's like, but then Kyoko's got to do all of this subtle stuff, and it still somehow leaves more of an impact. And I think that honestly it just comes down to the fact that they're different types of series, and that idea works better in one structure than it does in the other.
It also took a while, I think, when we were in Skip Beat to actually get into some of the really heavy acting stuff that really showed off where it works. We're jumping right into it here. And as you said, she has a lot more to work with, but it's tough to really grasp the context of everything when this is the first chapter. We're also understanding the world, everything that's happening, all that stuff going on. And I feel like this could be a series that in a different magazine is like a dark tragedy or something happening here, or just a really interesting character exploration. But I worry that it's going to, at the end, be like, method acting is the best thing you could possibly do. Now let's all get ready to give an Academy Award to Leonardo DiCaprio's next movie, Man on Fire Impaled on a Hook. Just like, I don't know, man.
All right. I guess then we'll go over to Bozebeats.
Bozebeats. I'm only going to get that one more time.
Okay.
This ain't sticking around.
So they were on a plane. Tamaki bonded with a little girl, and a demon attacked. And Tamaki beat it because he has a lot of ki, or the equivalent of ki, in this universe. I don't know. I think that this was a necessary chapter because the first one was all about Tamaki, but it wasn't about what Tamaki could do. This is establishing what he is going to be doing, what action scenes with him are going to be like, as opposed to that guy who brought a minigun into the fight.
I think the big thing this chapter was missing was something cool and awesome like they had last time, like the minigun in the fucking like little satchel. This stuff now is just too normal, more or less.
The other guy had a taser.
Yeah, they have like a little space gun, but it's just like I feel like where that chapter hooked me was in that moment, and I wish the series was just as over the top as that moment is. I almost kind of like feel like the series needs to be like Pacific Rim or something like that, where you need to just kind of embrace going over the top with things. That's what I thought the minigun was. Like, oh, we're the, you know, Buddhist monk organization who just happened to fight demons using our miniguns and assault rifles. Like, that's just like a very silly kind of big situation that I was kind of eager to see more of, and to see like a further world that kind of embellished in that, and you know, really like marinated in it, so to speak. So when this chapter came around and it was like one kind of nondescript laser beam rifle that doesn't really leave much to the imagination, I was kind of disappointed. I'm kind of hoping like next chapter fucking Tamaki has to fight something else and he pulls out like his lightsaber Morning Star weapon. Like, it's just like crazy.
Speaking of lightsaber. Yeah. I don't know. That's where I was on Bozebeats. We just was like, okay, all right.
I like the first chapter a lot better, but I'm not writing the series off yet.
If it has a great third chapter, then hey, we'll see. All right, let's talk about Boruto, chapter number 20, Scientific Ninja Tools.
I'm going to get the sad music queued up now, though, Nick.
Boom, 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 boom.
What, the Jurassic Park?
What's a good like thank you for all the memories song that we can use?
We could do Green Day. Do Good Riddance.
So, Al has cornered Boruto's team and Konohamaru and Katasuke and the guy that Konohamaru was trying to save earlier, Mugino. Al has a minigun, a scientific ninja tool minigun, which he's shooting at everyone. So everyone's like, shit, we have to fight them. Katasuke tries to stop him using his jutsu absorption gauntlet things. So Al basically is like, huh, okay, interesting. Konohamaru uses a Rasengan to blow up the Gatling gun. And I was like, huh, all right. Konohamaru tries to interrogate him, despite the fact that they're in basically mid-combat, you know? It's like, yeah, what was inside the container in the airship? And I was like, fuck off, I'm not going to tell you. Konohamaru says, does it have anything to do with the organization called Kara? I was just like, Shoryuken! Catches Konohamaru seemingly in the fucking head.
Well, luckily, see, Al's just a bunch of trick arrows, you understand? So he actually just hit him with his boxing glove bombs, not the laser ones. That's why I just knocked him over.
See, you know, scientific ninja tools, some of them are extremely effective, but some of them are just, you know, like a little joke.
Yeah, some of them are playful. You know, they have a personality. They don't want to have fun.
These kunais that I'm throwing have boxing gloves on the end instead of blades. That makes them less aerodynamic and less effective as weapons.
No, Nick, it's after you throw them, then it opens up to a boxing glove, like a spring on a boxing glove. Like,
boing.
Actually, no, it's a
Each
spring.
Of them have the gun from One Piece.
Yeah. My minigun that shoots boots on springs.
Not boots on additional guns that it shoots out. Oh gosh. Konohamaru is knocked to the ground. Al uses the opening to drive to catch Katasuke in a quick armbar and yanks a gauntlet off of him. And he's like, oh, all right, so this absorbs the jutsu. That looks fun. Boruto tries to stop him with a Rasengan. He's like, "Yupa! Absorb that and kick you." And he's like, "Good job, Katasuke. It is a great invention. I will use it for evil." He doesn't exactly say that, but yeah, man. I don't know what it is with this combat. Everyone's just stopping and talking for so much of it.
Well, the entirety, you should know. Well, I guess he did say not to do anything, but it is worth noting that both Sarada and Mizuki are doing nothing. They are just standing there. Like, it's one of those situations where you're like, it's 1 on like 7 right now. How is he getting the upper hand on you guys so much?
Oh, how did we say we're going to attack him? All together. And how did we attack? 1 at a time. That's right.
Well, it's like, look, I get he's strong. I get that's the concept behind it. But you think they'd at least be like how Kakashi kind of organized during the Mist Arc, where he's like, look, just surround the bridge builder. Like, the one dude we can't get killed right now. Your mission was to deliver fucking the doctor to that place safely, basically, and test these things out. Protect this guy. Like, just stand around to make sure he doesn't steal his super awesome jutsu nullifying technology. They're like, I knew there was something we were supposed to do. I got really distracted in Animal Crossing on my phone. I'm sorry. It's winter events going on.
The one thing that Sarada, brings up as she's playing is like, I've got this smoke flash bomb that we could use to get away, but Konohamaru and Mugino don't know the signal that I'm going to use it, so I'll just end up blinding them if I use it.
It was always one of Mugino's biggest weak points that he didn't know what signals
No, the signal.
It's one of his like trademark character gimmicks, really.
He just has like Konohamaru and Mugino sitting in a car. Mugino's at the wheel, gets them into a car wreck. Mugino, what were you thinking? Didn't you see the stop sign? Sorry, I didn't know what the signal meant.
He's like, I thought red meant go. And Konohamaru was like a fender halfway through his head. It's like, oh, Mugino, you're my best friend. I'd be so sad if you died.
Mugino, why didn't you see the shore coming up when you were piloting the ship? I didn't know what the lighthouse meant. Oh, Mugino.
That's their theme song playing. Again, he's got like a huge shard of rock to his face. It always has the Konohamaru facially disfigured for life.
Oh, like at the end of the Punisher series. I will give that series credit. Established a villain actually very well. Okay, so Al goes on talking about some old bullshit for some reason. But Mugino's like, I may not know the signal, but I do know what I am needed for here. And he just grabs him in this reverse bear hug. And he says, all of you run, leave me and go. And I was like, die. And he activates another ninja tool in his arm, which goes zgop.
That classic lightsaber sound effect.
I think that is the tool revealing itself from his arm.
Oh, yeah. That classic clothes ripping sound effect.
And then slash. And a blade comes out of his elbow and, or I guess his forearm, and stabs Mugino through the torso. And Sarada's like, no way!
He's like, fuck you! I'm gonna die in no way is what you gave me! I fucking hate the Uchihas.
Mugino, however, uses the jutsu to collapse the ceiling of the cave on top of them, burying himself and Ao while they're still locked together. So Konohamaru goes, Mugino! And Sarada goes, whoa.
Yikes.
Oh, gosh.
I love that even the characters in this series don't give a fuck about Mugino giving his life.
Konohamaru's like, he'd rather give up his life protecting his comrades than be a burden on them. I feel like Mugino's like yelling up through the rocks, come save me now that he's unconscious!
Help me! Remember my incredible thirst for life? It was one of my defining character traits. Remember I always told you on those long car rides together that if the only thing I'd fear more than death myself was being trapped underneath rocks and suffocating? Please help me.
Damn it! Sasakime would know this.
Like, together, I imagine the two of them are up in heaven, just like looking over their respective worlds, like, really changed them. The world never gonna know the likes of us again. And then they both turn to each other like, wait, which one are you?
Oh, God. All right. Konohamaru makes the call. We mustn't let Mugito's sacrifice go to waste. Mugito's like, fuck you! Well, he's like, all those traffic incidents that you got us involved in. Now it's time for my revenge.
Great on the way out. He's like, always remember the wise words that Mugito taught us. Boop, boop, boop. Don't Earth style rock breaker. And like, oh yeah, well, like the 3 lines he had. Yeah, there was a lot of subtext to it.
Oh man, just to uncover himself from the rocks pretty quickly. But he's like, I'm not letting any of you get away.
Mugito's sacrifice was for naught?
Oh gosh.
He was my favorite character in Boruto, Nick. Why do I always like the ones that just get belittled?
So everyone's managed to get away for a bit. Konohamaru says, Al dealt him a mortal blow back there. We probably couldn't have saved him. Sadly. Just flashing back to all the traffic accidents that he's been in.
And with like,
this day, we wouldn't be able to save. I'll never forget the wise words that Mugito shared with me. Hey, Konohamaru, what's a red light mean again? Oh, Mugito, your wisdom, I will never forget.
The hand means come on across. We can cross now. Like a tractor trailer just hits them.
Konohamaru, what do the man and woman walking hand in hand across the street? What does that sign mean? Ah! Oh, God. So we get a sequence. Katasuke blames himself for what has happened. He says everything is because of me. I was placed under genjutsu around the Chunin exams, manipulated by someone, highly acknowledged as scientific ninja tools. This is all my fault. Please forgive me, young master. This was partly because of me. Genjutsu, did, I think, actually just amplify existing traits there. And so actually that whole thing happened with you in the Chunin exams where I pushed you to use tools. Yeah, that was actually me too. And he was like, yes, and now I know that it was Al who placed me on the genjutsu, so this all sucks. So Konohamaru is like, all right, look, delivering this scroll is our priority. Delivering this USB scroll is our priority. It'd be wise for us to split into 2 groups, so I will act as bait and keep him occupied. But Katasuke is like, no, I should be the bait. Allow me to do it instead. I essentially brought this situation on us, the misuse of tools, the creation of monsters such as Al, however inadvertent. Things would never have turned out like this. If it were for me, my remorse is endless. So, Boruto's like, maybe scientific ninja tools shouldn't have been invented to begin with. And so I was like, God damn it, Boruto! Punches him. No. I was leading up to a cool misdirect.
I was like, this is like, maybe it should become a recurring segment on WMR of like awkward, stupid exchanges in manga that are only vehicles to give a cool moment speech. Like, this is right up along there with like, why do you say things you know you don't mean, Chad? Like, I don't know why I did. It would be really fucking stupid if that's what I decided to do. And that's one here too, where he's just like, I guess technology is really awful and I shouldn't be here. No, Boruto, how can you say that? You better not be what you're thinking. Boom, gotcha, psych. It's like, go fuck yourself.
Oh, gosh. he has a much more heartfelt little speech after that where he's like, that is how I felt at the beginning. I hated them, but the tools I saw at your lab were different. They were lots of fun. I got excited despite myself. And look at Shimaro. He's doing so well. And those tools were created to make people smile. Not to make anyone feel sad or to cause pain, right? It all depends on how you use it. A tool isn't inherently good or evil. Didn't Mr. Owl say that himself? And this same guy is misusing scientific ninja tools. He knows better, and he's still doing it, even killing her to suit his own needs. So I won't let him do it. Fair enough. And then he was like, hey, Kadaska, cheer up. These tools were made for creating smiles, so don't you need to be the first one to smile. That's all. That's a nice sentiment. And then he's like, and now I've got a lightsaber. So it's like, all right. We kind of knew that this was coming. It's such an after-school special way Gage was like, no, things are only good or bad depending on how you use them. Like, but I have a lightsaber now. This mode is way cooler now.
And knowing full well that he has one, that Owl has one too, and that's what we're gonna get is some lightsaber fight in Boruto now.
So, all right, the whole thing. This chapter was hilarious and how just how cliched it was, the character that we didn't know giving the noble sacrifice. Oh, I can't believe he's dead. Anyway. And now we're gonna have a lightsaber battle now though, so fuck it. Awesome. Okay. We're only halfway through and I feel exhausted.
The loss of Magino's going to do that to us.
All right. Chris, Dr. Stone, Z equals 43, Humanity's Final 6. What time is it?
It's time to get Stone!
Don't do that. All right. Continuing the flashback that we had last...
Got a little dizzy there.
You have immediately negated and reversed all the coolness you've gotten from Nick.
No, Nick, with this voice, it works. With my voice this week, I can do that because I sound super cool.
All right.
I think I sprained my elbow.
Continuing the flashback, where Senku's father, Byakuya, got to go up to the International Space Station. And we get a greeting of Byakuya and the other crew members exchanging greetings. I like that as you're going through this, you can kind of see here and there a little physical trait that has clearly been passed on to one of the Ishigami villagers, the idol. What's her name? I forget. Lillian the diva. Her hair looks very, very reminiscent of Kohaku and Ruri's.
Yeah, that's clearly where she gets it from.
And there's a little bit of banter between them. Lillian pretends to be a real stuck-up bitch. She's like, oh, I can't believe I have to go with these crap passengers. I'm not like you. I paid $50 million in order to be on here. And everyone's like, oh! And then she's like, I'm just kidding. I'm not actually a bitch. I just wanted to freak you out for a little bit. And everyone's getting along. There's some cool details. I like the fact that everyone's floating through the air because they're in space. There's no gravity, so the way that they greet each other with hugs is different. So you get some unique kind of body positioning in these panels, which I like. Also, of course, it's used as an excuse to look at Lillian's ass in a couple of panels, but whatever.
I mean, her ass, her breasts, all the great
she
parts.
Is a rather buxom lady. We get a scene down on Earth of Senku has been tracking these stonified birds, and then he's like, yeah, I'm gonna track this down. It's actually, he says a really weird set of words where he's like, sparrows across the earth are turning to stone, so mysterious it's almost funny. I'm getting excited. It's just such a weird shonen line. Just like excitement, weirdness, funny.
How is he talking with that pencil in his mouth, Nick?
I don't know.
Talking with his soul.
There's more banter that happens on the space station involving...
We cannot skip over this, Nick.
What did I skip over?
Well, I mean, we can't blast through what is this very pivotal introduction to this character that we are now going to get to know. And that is one of the members of this group who is the very curt one. It's very no nonsense. And at first I was like, oh, okay, it's space #Ray. It's basically what he is. He's the super douchey, annoying one who seems very up his own ass about this.
Space Ray, if you will.
But I started to realize something, Nick. This man has two very distinct qualities to him. He's sardonic, kind of grumpy, little antisocial, and I was like, that reminds me of one person on this podcast. But he's also a huge hipster, which reminds me of another person on this podcast. And that's when I realized it, Nick. If you and me were to get our fusion rings together and we were to do our fusion dance, the result, of course, would be this guy, who I believe we would dub Norris. Well, the other one is Crick, and that's not a great name.
Crick.
So I think Norris is the better fusion total. Of
we can't name our fusion after the sound you make when you stretch. So
no, that sounds pretty bad. Besides, I think there's like an alternate evil world, and that's where the other one is. So Crick is the one we fight in that universe, obviously.
Right.
With our pretentious, eye rolling, sarcastic remarks, as I also ride around on a unicycle. only listen to records on a old school record player and shit.
Oh gosh. Yes, we're introduced to him, and he's just like, "What's the point of having ramen? This nutrient jelly is perfect enough." And Byakuya's like, "Come on, try this ramen. Hey kid, yeah,
go check it out."
It is actually exactly like a 90s commercial. It's like, "You're having lame snacks? Try this on for size."
I think they used to literally do this with Tang commercials back in the day. I feel like there were Tang commercials in space and shit. Yeah, they're like, it blows my mind. And every time I'd get one, I'd be like, this sucks. I hate this.
Tang's not actually very tasty. So he has a weird reaction to it, and Byakuya's like, "See, yeah, it's super tasty, right?" He's like, "No, that's not it. Look out the window, the Earth." And apparently that cosmic event that caused everyone to turn to stone was basically a giant fucking explosion happening on the surface of the Earth. It's not like, a mushroom cloud or anything. It looks like, almost a kind of a energy blast strikes the Earth and sends out this wave of energy that causes everyone to be petrified. And of course, immediately Byakuya is thinking of his son down on the Earth in danger. They establish that nobody can contact them because seemingly everyone on Earth has been transformed. And to verify this, they manage to sync into a fixed camera with a 24-hour live feed, and they look at a freaking soccer stadium, and everyone is frozen in stone. So they realize, well, shit, everyone on Earth is turned to stone. So one of the people on the station is like, "Hey, let's not act rashly. Let's just wait here." But Sardonic guy is like, "How long are we gonna have to wait? We don't know how long."
Let's be right. Let's use his name.
Norris says, "Well, how long are we going to have to wait for this? With humanity in this state, we can't expect any help from Earth." And Byakuya's like, "Yeah, we should go back to Earth. It's not up to one of them to save us. We have to be the ones who save them. We 6 are the last remaining humans. We can't wait to be saved. We gotta go save them. All of them. All 7 billion. And Dr. Stone's going to be off next week, so that's leaving us on a pretty big note there of, hey, there's clearly a lot that Senku inherited from Byakuya, that ridiculous determination. I think this is the first time that Dr. Stone has gotten a break like this.
Yep. Which makes sense. I think hopefully this is going to become more of a practice for Jump to do when creators do these huge chapters that are clearly like culminations. They give them some time to get a week off or things like that. I would certainly make that a practice because it's a good chapter to leave off on. It stinks. I'd love to get a chapter next week, but hey, I'd also rather mangakas get breaks.
Mm-hmm. Make that a regular thing for all your regular stuff, yeah. Honestly, the station has a smaller crew than I was kind of expecting for we have to make a village to repopulate the Earth. So,
I also it's very helpful that it was a perfect ratio of boy girl. Like how irritating would have been if they were like, why was there...
And you two just get left out. Oh.
Yeah. Like, thank God it wasn't like original plan of like 5 dudes and 1 chick, and it's just like Vault 12 or whatever from the Fallout series. They're just like, it was hell. It was hell.
Oh, God. So, yeah. Let's go to We Never Learn then.
Yes, there we go. We Never Learn. Question 47. An oblivious X glimpses the depths of the abyss. So, we're not dealing with Karasu anymore, thankfully. And this chapter starts off as members of the Korean school are looking at results from the tests. And the big one is that Rizu, Gata, and Fumino got first place in their skilled groups. So Fumino was number 1 in language arts, and Rizu got number 1 in math for the practice test. And they're like, whoa, wow, I can't believe that, these people managed to get full points on the practice test. They must be like perfect people. But they're obviously much more interested in the fact that they scored particularly low in the, the subjects they're trying to get good in. So, everybody's impressed by these two, but, they keep seeing them go to Uega for help. And they're like, whoa, that guy's training these girls? He must be like some kind of shadow emperor. And it's like, what does that even mean? Because I'm trying to think, like, what's the shadow?
A ruler from the shadows.
I guess. In my mind, I keep thinking, like, it's supposed to be a reference to something. The only emperor I can think of is the Digimon Emperor. And I'm like, I guess Uega's
That's
like
the only emperor you can think of.
And Emperor Palpatine, Nick. It's not like Emperor Palpatine. He's much closer to Ken, obviously.
I mean, you're not wrong.
That's all I need. Technically, you're right. Done. Give me my diploma. But they're also very upset because, he's practicing with all these cute girls and everything like that. And that's when, of course, Takamoto shows up and she's like, oh, look, I got 70 points. He's like, that's great. That was out of 200, though, so it's still not really great. So they get upset when they see yet another cute girl kind of join in with them. And what I do find funny is the entire time this is happening, Asumi is just on the side just being like, this isn't what cram school's for. Shut up and get back to work, you idiots. And like all the main cast start having this whole thing going on about like, oh wait, are you calling Uega by his first name? Oh well, I should start doing it too. Well, oh, and they try to come up with jokes for it. And again, you just see like Asumi's on the side like,
well, the guys are me like, how dare he get them all to do first name basis with him?
Yeah, and they're having this whole thing, and Ogata does threaten him by saying, call me by my first name or I'll start calling you perv dog. I was like, this is an oddly threatening moment for her. She just watched some mobster movies recently. Eventually class is over. It's pretty late, and Asumi is headed back home, and she sees like the 3 guys who have been begrudgingly getting like annoyed at Uega all day, kind of staying around moping about it. And she's like, are you really gonna waste your energy on this? Like, you've got exams coming up. Like, fine, all right, come follow me. And she shows them Uega still in class creating custom flashcards for all the other girls to basically help them study on all the questions that they missed. And she's mentioned like this is what he does virtually every day for the topics they struggle with, and maybe he is a perv and a player, but even so, hypothetically, it's pretty impressive that he's willing to go that far. And they gain a new respect for him, and that's really basically the chapter. There's a bit at the end here that's kind of funny where she has like a little moment with him where she's saying like, let's get back to work. And there's that beat of silence. And she's like, oh, what? You want me to call you by your first name too? It's going to cost you.
Well, the note after that also is that, the 3 guys are also like, hey, I thought that, she was, she had seamless armor, but look how happy she looks. So that's some shadow emperor. So it's like she has also let her guard down around Uega and stops being serious around him. This is a sweet little thing. I like this chapter because it's very much a kind of run-of-the-mill thing for a lot of characters. Like, oh, the guy's watching the protagonist and being jealous of all the attention he gets from these girls. I like it though because it's from Ayumi's perspective, and so that kind of puts a different twist on things that we've seen normally from this. And Ayumi's a great character, and she has some great little dry observations while all this stuff is going on.
I can dig it. I always enjoy her kind of moments there. It might be good though because there's not a tremendous amount of like Kirisu stupidity or comparisons about cup sizes or things like that this week. So
you imagine like the thing that they're actually jealous of is like, Yuiga, how big are my tits?
Yeah, they all start like putting their chests on the table, like feel them, feel how big. Which one of us have the biggest tits?
Oh,
like,
I can't believe that guy. He's getting all this attention.
He's just
what the fuck am I? What has happened in this?
Girls, we gotta study. What are we doing here? Like he's like they're throwing themselves on the table literally, and he's just like, but your math scores are so low.
Okay. From there, then let's go on to the Promised Neverland. Chapter 71, Real Intentions. So this is following up on Lucas showing Emma to the door that Minerva has pinned all of his stuff behind, that they need the pen to get in. Lucas brings up that, hey, have you ever had any, doubts about what's going on here? That Minerva is actually the enemy. There's a trap to lure us here to the hunting ground. And Emma actually is like, what? And he's like, oh, well, I guess you never doubt him then. But he says that, he's been more suspicious since he found the door of Minerva's real intentions. But then again, he's had 13 years to dwell on this. So doubts are going to come up eventually over that time. And they have a big, all the answers are behind that door moment. And they get the door to open because Emma opens up the pen. Pardon me. And they get inside. And they see that there's this massive control room inside that controls the hunting ground up above. And so Lucas is like, oh my gosh, is this really just, to control the hunting ground? But Emma spots another door. They go through there, and there is a pond, a golden pond. And she opens up the pen. It says, welcome to Golden Pond. And so Lucas realizes, oh, so this really wasn't a hunting ground. Minerva wanted us to come to this pond, and the thing that was up above us probably wasn't a hunting ground to begin with. It was turned into one somehow. Why? How did that happen? Where is Mr. Minerva now? Ugh. But then they realize, hey, there's a building over there floating on the water. Okay. And they're like, we can't touch this liquid somehow. It just falls off us. Okay.
Fair enough.
Let's go in that building. They get inside, there's an elevator in here. Despite the fact that the building is floating.
All of this makes perfect sense.
Emma's like, maybe we can use this elevator to go to the human world if we use it. So they're like, oh, there's a slot here with the on a control console. We can slide the pen inside of it. Blink it. It turns on. The door when the elevator opens. Like, whoa, what if this elevator lets us go in? Maybe it will. And it goes, failure. Why did it fail? I don't know. Hey, there's a phone over there that's ringing. End of chapter.
I do love one very cute moment in this series where Emma sees the elevator and she's like, that we could go to the human world if we use it? Is that it? And her and Lucas start like, that can't be that. Yeah, there's no way it'd be that easy. And there's one like, it can't be, right? Oh my god, is it this easy? And they start getting really excited, oh my god, can we finally finish this? She puts her key in the fucking elevator, clicks it open, the doors open, and the credits just start rolling. And it's just oh, okay, I guess everything worked out all right for everybody.
I don't mean to underplay this sequence. It's just that there's not a whole lot to comment on because it's a very kind of cinematic sequence. There's not a tremendous amount of important dialogue. It's more just observations that they're making, all the weird stuff that they're seeing. And there's more a lot of weird traits about this location to make note of. So there's this weird golden pond that isn't filled with actual liquid, maybe. I don't know. We can't actually touch it. There's an island floating out in the middle of it that has a building there. And the elevator, where the hell does the elevator go if this freaking building is floating on this pond? There's not a lot, to really comment on, but I will say that the whole sequence of all this playing out is like there's all this weird stuff going on that I think is very effective. And it's something that I don't really see a whole lot from manga, honestly. It's like, what's this weird thing? What's this weird thing? What's this weird thing? So
it's a very interesting chapter for the series because it does like put like a very magical almost element to the series that we haven't seen yet, which is like how did the mechanics of this place work? You know, it's basically been pretty like grounded as a series, except there are demons in it. But this is just like water we can't touch and a floating island and, you know, a magic elevator seemingly inside of the space. But I'm super intrigued to find out what the answers to any of these things are. You know, part of me wonders, like, you know, it's connected to this surveillance room. And it's like, maybe that's a failure because it's, you know, some condition they haven't finished here yet. Like, it's trying to figure out what Minerva's all about. And part of me is like, is he trying to test them maybe? Is that what the kind of practice of this is all about? Like, he's like, no, you can't leave until you save everyone in this place or something. I don't know. But it's crazy interesting. Like, who's going to be on the phone? Is it going to be Minerva? Is it going to be someone new? Is it going to be someone we didn't expect? Like, fuck, mom picks up on the other end. She's like, what do you think you're doing? Or something. I don't know. Like, it's just super interesting. Like, I'm totally engrossed in the story here.
yeah. So, I mean, despite the fact that not a whole lot actually happened, I thought it was really good.
All right, let's move on then to Seven Deadly Sins, chapter 251, Holy War Treaty. So,
Holy War Treaty, Batman.
rest in peace, and West. So the chapter begins with all of the members of Camelot suddenly realizing they are safe, and everyone be like, "Whoa, God, demons are attacking us! Something must have happened." They're like, "Wait, no, we're home!" And they get to celebrate that they were saved by the Seven Deadly Sins and Elizabeth. And there's this big 2-page spread of Seven Deadly Sins getting to walk through the streets of Leonis as basically like the heroes of this situation. You know, they're being surrounded in applause and adulation, love.
The perspective of it is actually kind of weird. Like, I know that Elizabeth is up front and that's why she looks huge, but she still looks huge from the perspective of the shot.
Well, it's tough to tell as well because Diane is so far in the back, but she's naturally a giant and also bending over. So you're like, it's really tough to get that scale for how big she's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And also, I get that King doesn't always look the way he does, but why wouldn't he buy shirts that fit him in his larger size? I'm like, come on, dude. Go to a big and tall. You're a magical king. You got to be able to make a shirt that fits.
Literally every time he transforms into this form, I'm like, all right, he does that. I wish he wouldn't because I don't like that design.
No, it's not great. But they arrive, and then they are quickly met up by Gil Thunder and quote-unquote Princess Margaret as they show up. But Elizabeth's like, no, that's not Margaret. I can tell this immediately. She knows who it is. The Archangel of the Goddess, and one of the Archangels say, as we meet her, Ludishel, and the two other ones that we saw, Talmiel and Sariel. So we have the name of those three. Those are the other two that I think we also saw glimpses of. So there are 3 archangels here. I don't know if there's supposed to be a 4th that we haven't met yet, but who knows? 4 archangels.
I really love the 2-page spread of the 3 of them standing together, by the way.
Yeah, you see this big 2-page spread that I believe is supposed to indicate who the bodies were originally before these archangels took over them.
Well, so, it's what the original forms of the archangels were before they possessed these 3 people.
Okay. Basically. Okay. So yeah, it's
all 3 of them are striking the same pose as their archangels in the background, which looks really cool.
So this is a pretty interesting visual to get there. And there's basically a long conversation that kind of happens there. There's still a bit of, I guess, conflict as to whether or not people who are following Ludishel are okay with her just taking over Princess Margaret's body or not. Like, Hendrickson is really excited about this. He's like, your power is unstoppable. This is great. Dreyfus is like, slap him in the back of the head, like, shut the fuck up, buddy. Which I kind of like. I like that there's a little bit of conflict there, but Ludishel brings up that she's here to basically form a treaty because she says they've already combined with the human knights and or the human kingdoms and their holy knights, and she wants to team up with the 7 deadly sins because their power is so great. She makes an offhand remark about how Melodius was their captain, so she assumes she just betrayed him in the last moment. Elizabeth sticks up for him. She's like, no, you take that back. But she's like, hey, that's what he's doing. Clearly, he's using Zeldris Nestarossa for something, so stop being naive. And if you want aid in the Holy War, perhaps your mother will even break the curse put on her daughter. And Elizabeth's like, I don't care about that. So she does agree to team up, but her says her goal was to stop Melodius, not to kill him. So it won't be easy to suppress him alone. So yeah, they'll team up together. So Luciel like brandishes this long holy sword of light, and Elizabeth does the same, and they essentially cross the swords in midair together. Kind of a pretty cinematic moment, very kind of interesting visual, I think. And we cut away to Melodius looking out from one of those like random Dragon Ball Z rock formation things.
Yeah.
And he can see the twin crossing lights in the distance. And that's actually, I think, even a cooler visual of it, too, where it's almost like these two spotlights shine in the air. And that's the chapter, which kind of short, but feels like there was a good bit that happened there at the end. It's you know, not surprising that these two sides are uniting, but there's still that, that deep undercurrent that clearly the Archangels are not absolutely good. It's been very much made evident by this point that the holy side of this war is not automatically the good side. But it's still interesting to see where this is going to go.
I do like having this official truce and alliance between them, because it lets you know it's like, okay, we're going to have to deal with this problem later. It's not something that's going on concurrently. It's, something that is now put in a sequence of like, okay, this is something that we have to worry about, but they're not our enemies that we also have to worry about along with Meliodas and everyone else. So you can have that existing tension between them going on because, like, hey, we're working with these people that we don't 100% trust, and Elizabeth knows it. So,
and I like too that this was sort of like an official coronation for Elizabeth too as the new leader of the Seven Deadly Sins at this point.
Yeah.
They basically taken her in as the new captain.
I never would have honestly seen her doing that at the beginning of this series.
Yeah, I really dig it.
She's come a long way. All right, so we are going to actually finish up with Black Clover, page 141, Crazy Magic Battle! Yeah. Henry has revealed himself. He has transformed the Black Bull's base into a giant mecha, and they have a magic battle. Before that happens, Henry, has one last bit of flashback where to his conversation with Yami, where Yami was just like, I'm just going to leave you, make you a brigade member from now on. And said, later, once you can move, when you want to protect your comrades, put that on. He puts on a Black Bull's mantle. Which, I don't know. Yes, he's a member of the Black Bulls. It's an important gesture for him to put it on and join their ranks. But it's just, another thing that happens with Black Clover, and I say it all the time, and I know that it's never going to change, and I should just accept that and move on. The series moves too quickly. This moment, I feel like, has something taken away from it, because it was such a big gesture for Zora to join the Black Bulls after he had all that build-up. And he was like, okay, fine, I'll join with you and actually be a member of your team, as opposed to being a douchebag who goes on my own and won't even declare myself an official Magic Knight. We know very, very little about Henry by comparison to that. And so this gesture doesn't feel quite as good. And also there's the problem of Zora did that only a couple of months ago. And it's like, this happened pretty soon after. So, okay, there you go. So, the members of the Midnight Sun try and have their zombie thing launch a giant corkscrew of magic at the Black Bull base, which counters with a rocket punch. All right.
Sure. I guess his ability to rearrange the base also allows him to bring back the base should he fire it off.
So everyone was like, holy shit. And it's like, all right, we have rocket punch. All right. Instantly better. What's her name? Susan? I don't know. creepy glasses girl is like, all right, well, I'm going to use this dark magic item, magic scorpion necklace. When you put it on for 10 minutes, it multiplies your power by a factor of 10. Okay. And she uses her gel magic to summon a huge salamander. Actually, she refers to it specifically as big ol' sticky salamander.
She's obviously meant to be a very suggestive character. I can't help but notice it's like, oh, the dark magic scorpion perfectly conforms itself to your tits as well.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know, I just found it amusing.
Kaiju battle!
Oh fuck! What's the Pacific Rim 2 song? Gotta go every day, gotta go every day. And Charlie Day in the background be like, I'm so in this movie to be annoying! Woo!
So the Black Bull's base has to fight the giant sticky salamander, but it doesn't do so good because it tries to punch it, and she's like, you can't punch gel, silly. Sally, that was her name. And then she, has the salamander kind of melt over the base, and she's, talking about how she's like, oh, I'm gonna dissect you, Henry. So Gauch is like, all right, we've got to move. We're gonna help him. And Gray's like, how? And Gauch is like, shut up, I'll tell you. So she's like, okay, Gray, I need you to transform her magic. And she's like, it's too big. I can't do it. And she's like, it's going to work. Look at me. Look at me. And he unveils his mirror eye thing, which uses the Mirror Brigade spell to copy Gray so that there are a whole bunch of her so that they can all use their conversion magic to transform the gel into a giant plant. And that makes it super susceptible to Gordon's poison curse magic. And it melts off. So then they're like, oh, well, we've got number 0 coming after you guys. Get fucked. And then so Henry's just like, nope. And he turns the arm of the base to launch another punch, and it smashes the zombie thing. And that's the end of the chapter. It's basically one big fight scene after Henry dons the mantle, but it's a pretty awesome fight scene, I think, although very short. I do like the way that all 4 members use their magic together, particularly the combination that Gauch masterminded.
Yeah, I like that part a lot. This chapter reminded me how bad I am with Black Clover, where I sat here for a moment and I was like, Gauch has a magic eye! Completely forgot about that.
No wonder we didn't remember Henry being in the background of shots. Come on, guys.
And I had that extra moment too where it's like, I bet that's why the Midnight Sun wanted to capture Gauch alive because of his eye. And it's like, yes, stupid, obviously. How do you not get this? It's like, oh, I just don't remember any detail about this series apparently.
Oh gosh. I did like this chapter because it was a cool fight scene. In terms of character stuff, I've still got problems with the way that everything with Henry went down, but it was cool to see them working together.
I could dig it, yeah. It was a cool action chapter.
All right. So, with all of that done, that's it. That's it for Weekly Manga Recap. We are going to wrap things up here by naming our favorites of the week.
I'll start off then. So for my series of the week, I'm going to give it to Act H. I thought this was a really interesting chapter. I don't know if it's a series that's going to work in Jump. I don't know if we're going to get more than 3 chapters of it. I don't know if it will even last in Japan to any extent. But I was super intrigued by the chapter premise, and I just thought it was really cool. I like the idea of it kind of taking on different concept, even if it may not execute it perfectly. The idea alone was just intriguing enough. I mean, I like different sorts of series in Jump, so I really enjoyed it.
I'm going to give mine to The Promised Neverland. I know we didn't talk a whole lot about it, but again, it was just a sequence that was really intriguing, so many weird little details, and it's something that played out much better when I was just reading it than when we were going through it and talking about it, because it just flows so well together, and it leaves you with this weird sense of intrigue. And it was honestly kind of enrapturing when I was going through. I was like, this is so strange, and I want to know more about this. So that's it for me. MVP for me, I thought about giving it to Ayumi, just because she was amusing and held that chapter together really well. But I'm going to give it to Endeavor, because this was something that I was not expecting to come from his character. This very genuine and realistic, I'm going to try to be better moment. It's not something that's like, oh, well, he's going to be a good character now. It's like, well, he's going to try. And that's more than you can say for a lot of people out there in the world who have done horrible, bad things. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I give it to Endeavor as well. Again, I still totally understand anybody who's like, I don't think Endeavor should be. And, I'm not here to try to convince you otherwise. But I do think that personally, I really enjoy that direction with the character. I like trying to turn him into something better. I'm an optimist at heart, so I really liked it.
Right. And that is going to do it then for Weekly Manga Recap this week. Do you have a suggestion for us?
Yes, I went to the end.
I'll get to the end. Okay. We want to thank you guys for listening, tuning in. We normally record the show on smashcast.tv/RoloT and twitch.tv/RoloT Thursdays currently at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But things happen. So in order to stay updated on any changes that occur, if we have to stream somewhere else, if we have to stream at a different time, you can follow us on Twitter. Your hosts are at RoloT and at Nick F. Time. And the official podcast account is at WMR Podcast. If you want more, you can check out all of our past episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, as well as subscribe to us on iTunes and on YouTube. If you do that, be sure to leave a comment and rating and all that stuff, because that helps us to defeat our eternal rivals in the hobby section, the Woodworkers. If you have any feedback you want to send to us, ask us any questions, suggest manga for us to read, you can send all that stuff via email to weeklymangarecap@yahoo.com so that we can browse all of it and keep track of it all. And we want to give some special thanks to our Patreon supporters. Your support allows us to create all sorts of bonus content for you guys to enjoy. We have been hard at work on the bonus episode for this month, our Christmas special, you guys should have relatively soon.
Yeah, we're going to try to get it out over the next, over the weekend, hopefully. We're finishing up some work on it, but we got that coming out. Also, real quick, want to give a special thanks to Mark Carter, Sunshine Ladies Tour, and Andrew Stone for being new patrons. Thank you very much, guys. Fist bump for awesomeness. It is greatly appreciated. It's because of you guys that we're able to do some cool stuff, and I'm able to eat every week thus far. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'm pretty stoked.
That's great.
Yeah. That's good. No, go ahead.
Well, I also wanted to just extend some special thanks to Steve Man and Infamous Planet for the help that they do for us. Yeah.
What did he do?
The guy who made the title card when we talked about Helck earlier.
The guy who did that, and the guy who helped make the new title card or the new overlay that has your correct Twitter handle on it and everything like that.
Hey.
I don't see what the big deal about them is.
All right. We'll find them. What else do you want to say?
No, I guess then let's do a recommendation here. So I'm just trying to get to where my email was that had it here. Sorry, just pulling it up here. Nick's dancing. I like that. I like the dancing, Nick. I like that enthusiasm. Why is this not popping up anymore? All right, fuck it. I'm just going to go with the first recommendation I could find now. Because for some reason, the one I had before is gone. We're going to take a look at... Ooh, actually, I think this is going to be a very interesting one. Because there's a big anime about this right now that is very popular, but also quite controversial. And I am very curious to see how the manga adaptation for this goes. So our next recommendation is going to be The Ancient Magus' Bride.
Ooh.
So stay tuned for that one.
Okay, then. All right, so that's going to be it, guys. We will check with you next week. I think that we'll probably be doing also some commentary in between now and then as well.
Do you want to know what our commentary is going to be about?
Sure. Yeah, we actually decided on this one ahead of time. We are going to be watching a few episodes of Devilman Crybaby. Speaking of controversial anime, and we'll probably be doing that in the next couple of days, probably on Monday, I think.
Indeed. So that's going to do it, guys. What kind of funny line should we end this episode off on, Nick? Actually, you know what? We shouldn't make a joke, Nick.
What?
We should be respectful and honorable in memoriam of Fugino. Remember the wise words he once told us? Stop signs
Don't unearth style.
Stop signs do what now?
Or don't unearth style. Bye, everybody.